Welcome to Advocate with Dr. Rufus Lowe, where we aspire each and every day to eradicate the silence of good people who allow bad things to happen. And in doing so, we can together provide a new and glorious path forward for all. Our conversation will be based on the teachings of my latest book entitled Shadow Tolerance, Your Guide to Accepting Racial Difference. Shall we begin? Welcome back to Advocate with Dr. Rufus Lowe, where we pull apart the threads of democracy to see what's really woven in. I'm your host, and today I'll be diving into two forces that shape the political lives of marginalized communities. One being gerrymandering, the quiet cartographer of political power. And the second is the vote, which is the loud, undeniable voice of the people. On paper, both seem pretty simple. One is about drawing maps, the other is about casting ballots. But when you set them aside, or when you set them side by side, the story gets complicated and honestly pretty urgent. So, what is gerrymandering? Let's start with talking about picture a map of your state. All those neat districts like puzzle pieces. Now, imagine someone gets to redraw these puzzle pieces, not to make them fairer or more representative, but to tilt the board so their team almost always wins. Now, that's gerrymandering. It's named after Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry, who approved a salamander-shaped district back in 1812. The tactic's been around for centuries, but here's the twist. Today's gerrymandering uses high-tech voter data, advanced mapping software, and laser precision to slice communities apart or pack them into a single district. And who suffers the most? Well, you guessed it. Often it's marginalized citizens, Black, Latino, Indigenous immigrants, and low-income voters. By splitting their neighborhoods into multiple districts or cramming them into one safe seat, political map makers can dilute their voting power. It's like giving them a megaphone and then stuffing it with cotton. Let's talk about the power of the vote. Now flip the script. The vote, in its purest form, is the great equalizer. On election day, a billionaire's vote counts just as much as the minimum wage worker's vote. For marginalized citizens, though, voting has historically been both a shield and a sword. It's the shield against laws that erase rights, and it's the sword to push for representation that reflects lived reality. That's why movements from Selma to Standing Rock fought so fiercely to secure it. Every time a voter shows up, they're not just filling in bubbles on a piece of paper. They're saying, I exist. I count. I have a stake in this nation. So, what's next? The collision. So here's the tension, okay? Gerrymandering manipulates the boundaries to shape outcomes before the first ballot is even cast. The vote, meanwhile, is the tool people have to push back against that manipulation. For marginalized citizens, this is like trying to win a race where the starting line keeps moving and not in their favor. You can register thousands of new voters in a community, but if their political influence is chopped, let's say into 3 separate districts, their collective voice gets muffled, or if they're crammed into one district, they might win big there, but lose all influence in neighboring areas where policy decisions still affect their lives. So let's talk about the stories now behind the lines, which is always important to know. Let's take an example of in North Carolina. Court cases have revealed district maps designed to pack black voters into just a few districts, ensuring surrounding districts stay majority white and more likely to vote for one party. The result? Black communities ended up overrepresented in a small handful of districts, but underrepresented everywhere else. Meanwhile, in places like Arizona, indigenous voters have fought for decades to have districts that keep tribal lands together so they can elect leaders who actually represent them. These battles show something important. When the lines are drawn fairly, marginalized voices have the power to shape policy, challenge injustice, and demand equity. And of course, when they're not, democracy becomes a rigged game. So power, even in an unfair system, is a problem. But here's the thing. Even in a gerrymandered landscape, the vote still matters a lot. Local elections, ballot initiatives, judicial races, these can't always be neatly gerrymandered. Turnout in these areas can shift school board policies, decide whether a city invests in affordable housing, or determine how policing works in a neighborhood. And grassroots organizing, think voter registration drives, court challenges, and public pressure can force states to redraw unfair maps. It's not just about voting in spite of gerrymandering. It's about voting to end it. In closing, I'd like to come up with a real brief call to action. So gerrymandering is about power taken away before the fight even begins. The vote is about power reclaimed, one ballot at a time. For marginalized citizens, the stakes couldn't be higher. The map may be titled or tilted, but the game isn't over. And as history shows, from the Voting Rights Act to recent court victories, organized communities can redraw the lines. So learn how your district is drawn, support fair maps, and above all, the most important thing, vote. Because every line on a map is just a line until the people decide what it means.